What is going on, guys? Crowder here, and today I'm bringing you the best loadouts in Warzone Season 4, and we're starting out with the secondaries, or the SMGs. Let's get right into it. And starting off with number 5 is this loadout right here on your screen. You can see from the attachments all equipped. These are all going to be hipfire and tac stance attachments, just because this is going to be a very close range weapon that you want to use, and these attachments right here make it the best possible for that up close. And you can tell from the stats that this has the fastest time to kill up close within that really close range. But the difference with these attachments on this gun is that obviously it's not going to have the crazy range. So a lot of the range that these weapons do hold all goes down to actually being able to hit your bullets from pretty far ranges. So this is something that's really good for Rebirth Island and just those up close staircase fights in Urzikstan as well. So again, I have this at number 5, not because of the time to kill not being very good, because it is the best, but because of the range and the actual practicality of using these weapons outside of certain ranges is probably not going to be that crazy. So these guns are fun to use. They're definitely very good to use, and I definitely recommend trying them out. That is the number 5 weapon in my opinion. Let's move on to number 4. And now number 4 for me right now is going to be the WSP9. Now this did receive a little bit of a nerf, but nothing too crazy. It still holds its range, and overall I just like the iron sights of this specific build. And if you don't like the iron sights, there is another way to build this, but you can see from this gun right here, when you aim in, the iron sights are not that bad. The recoil is very, very manageable, and just overall, it's a very good gun with sprint to fire and other things as well. And I just kind of like this because it's a reliable weapon, and it does have a very good damage range kind of multiplier. So these attachments right here are my favorite WSP9. But if you don't like the iron sights, I also recommend trying out a build like this, and this is just going to have the stock on it as well for some movement speed, and then you're going to have the jacket glassless optic for some good recoil stabilization and just firing aim stability. And again, it's going to make those shots just a little bit easier at range, and just in general going to be a very good gun for people that want to be more accurate and you don't really care too much about crazy movement speed and you just want to be able to rely on hitting your shots. This is definitely a gun that I'd recommend trying out and using in the Warzone meta right now. Let's move on to number 3. Weirdly enough, number 3 is going to be the Lachmann Shroud. There's a couple ways to build this. This is my overall favorite build. This feels pretty good. The thing with this build though is that it's not going to have that great of bullet velocity. You can see that it's at 334, and just in general, to get this gun to have the movement speed to kind of keep up with other weapons, you kind of really need this barrel and other things too. You want that tactical sprint speed to always be around a 7. That is kind of where you want to be with the SMGs. A 6.8 or a 6.9 is not that bad either, but in general, these are all kind of where you want to be with the movement. And then of course you want this gun to hit hard, and you can see from the stats that it does actually have a good time to kill within the threshold. The thing is once you kind of get out of that 10-meter range, it's not going to be very good for the bullet velocity. So you definitely want to be very aggressive with this gun and keep it up close and personal. But with the new conversion kit, this just makes the Lachmann Shroud what once was a burst weapon. Now it's automatic, and the recoil is still manageable. So I definitely recommend giving this a try and letting me know what you guys think. But this has been a gun I've been running around with. It's definitely fun, and it's definitely in the Warzone meta right now. It's something that's probably considered underrated, but some people have been actually trying to use it right now. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this build. I've been seeing a lot of people use it, and let's move on to weapon number 2. And right here on your screen is the second best SMG in my opinion. Now this has a faster time to kill than the number 1 SMG that I'm going to show you, but this is going to be a weird weapon when it comes to movement speed. It's going to be pretty good. If you see right now, this is not built for movement speed at all, and it has a tactical sprint speed of 7.1, so it's definitely going to be really good with movement. And if you do put certain movement attachments on this weapon, you can move at the speed of light. So you can make this gun a very fast moving weapon, but it doesn't have the craziest damage range outside of that 11-meter mark. So after that 11-meter mark, it's going to have a bit of a drop off, and that's kind of where I don't love this gun. But again, it's still very, very usable, very, very good. And again, depending on your playstyle, it could be easily the number 1 SMG if you kind of want to run around with this one. And there's a couple ways to build this. This one here is with the iron sights and just making it super accurate. I like this build. I don't love the iron sights, so this is not the build that I primarily use. I'll show you that one in a second. But if you do like these iron sights, this gun is very, very accurate with this setup on it and these attachments. So again, very easy to shoot, but this is not my favorite build. I'm going to show you my favorite build right now. And here are the attachments for my favorite build on the way to build this. Now this is going to have the long barrel on it, so it's going to give you that effective damage range without the high green, so it's kind of similar to the other build. But a big thing for me is that this gun's very accurate. I don't love the iron sights. I like the strafe speed that you get with the DR6 hand stop. You can use a couple of different ones too, but this also helps the sprint to fire. And then the jack glassless optic is just going to make it very accurate. I'm probably going to switch this one up just because I haven't found something something I use every single game. This is not my number one SMG, but still plenty of different ways to build. And honestly, if you have different ways to build the FJX, I would love to hear them in the comments below, because I'm curious to see what you guys think. I know a lot of people actually build this to move very fast and have like the movement build. People like the iron sights, and then people have a couple different builds as well with the red dots. So if you guys have any other masterclass FJXs, let me know. But these are my favorite attachments right now on the number 2 SMG in the game, in my opinion. And now let's move on to number 1. And number 1 is by far and beyond my favorite weapon I think Call of Duty has almost ever added in general. I am not lying when I say this is the most fun I've had using an SMG in Warzone in general over probably the last couple of years. I really like this gun, and I know they're going to nerf it, but these attachments on it right now are probably the best thing for me. I've been playing with some people, and every time they pick up my build, they always ask what I have on it because it feels so good. And you can see here, the tactical sprint speed is an 8.2. And just to give you a reference, last season at Season 3, the Striker 9 was probably the best SMG, and that had a 7.1 or a 7.0 depending on how you built it. And even when you use no stock, I only think you got it to like 7.3 or something. You're like, so again, this gun is significantly faster than any gun that you can really use. You're going to sprint at the speed of light. It holds its damage range. It has the time to kill, and it has recoil that's super manageable with these exact attachments on it. And the reason why I have this flash laser on it is just to help that sprint to fire speed with the 14%. And a lot of you are going to be like, Crowder, why are you not using the phantom rear grip? You can also use the phantom rear grip, but it does hurt your flinch resistance. And for some reason, I'm just kind of a little paranoid about that, I guess, in gunfights. I don't know if I'm just tripping out or not. But again, this is also a really good rear grip to use if you don't really care about that as well. And also, you know, it kind of has more of a sprint to fire too. But that's why I do use the DXS Flash 90, because it's just a little bit easier in my opinion to use. So again, the recoil on this gun, when you are using it, you can see I already have it obsidian, so I've been grinding with it. It's a very easy gun to just control your shots with, and just overall, just so fun to use and run around the map. You're a speed demon. This is the jack of all trades. It is so good at every kind of category that you need, but if you don't like the movement build for you, here is one other build that you can use. Right here, this is now not the fastest sprinting time, but you can still see that it is at a 7.0, so it's on par with every other SMG. But with this light barrel and the cutthroat stock, you are going to have the ADS movement speed that is just completely just not possible for your enemies to keep up with. And it's basically going to have no recoil. So if you're someone that likes to pre-aim a lot or ADS walk, and you're not someone that likes to rely on movement, you can use this. Or even if you do like your movement, you can long slide out of your gunfights and just really abuse cameras while also being super accurate by being aimed in. So another very good way to build the number 1 SMG in the game right now. But I do have 2 honorable mentions, and one of them is probably the fastest time to kill out of all these SMGs outside of those akimbos, and it is going to be this weapon right here. Yes, this is the assault rifle. It is an SMG though when you put the conversion kit on it, and you guys are probably pretty familiar with this gun in general already from last season. People used it a lot. The reason why I don't have this in the 1 through 5 category, this is more of a sniper support in my opinion, just because of the fact that it is a very clunky weapon. You do not have the movement speed that you would prefer. You do tactical sprint pretty fast, but the sprint to fire speed is a 177. So if you're sliding around in those staircase fights, you're not going to be able to get your shots off as fast as people that are using SMGs, especially that are moving faster too. So this gun does have the time to kill. And the thing with this is a play style. I think this is a very good sniper support. Or if you are using this as your assault rifle support, you have to make sure you are already aimed down sight and ready to go. So you have to be very prepared for gunfights. So if you're pre-aiming in a building, or you're chilling, holding staircases, or you're holding angles, this is going to be the gun that you're absolutely going to shred your enemies with. It's a very good gun, a very usable option, but I don't have it in the 1 through 5s because it just doesn't feel like a true SMG, but it's still very good. So I definitely recommend trying this one out. And the last honorable mention for the SMGs is going to be the Striker. Now, this gun with the no stock is going to have not that bad of recoil. You would think it does have bad recoil, but it doesn't. You have a 7.3 movement speed. Again, there's other better options. That's why I think this is just in the honorable mentions, but you can see from the stats, it does hold the time to kill. So there's a couple ways you can build this, and just overall, this is my most fun that I have with the Striker. So when I'm trying to change it up and still have some fun and still be able to get the time to kills and just have, you know, a good fast weapon that I'm using, I wouldn't use this operator personally with this gun because the fur or the hair of this operator gets in the way, but still you can use this gun and have a lot of fun with it. Again, not my favorite weapon right now, but something that I'm just trying to change it up. This is all reliable right here. It definitely is still going to be usable and kind of underrated. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the SMGs. The only other gun that I'm leaving out would probably be the BP secondary, but we're not going to talk too much about that. And now let's move over to the primaries. And for a primary that you guys can use is going to be the Holger 5.56. This gun has a good time to kill within the medium range. It does have a drop off in the sense it's kind of harder to hit your shots at the longer range sometimes just with the bullet velocity and all that. And the best way to kind of build this gun is going to be bullet velocity. In my opinion, when you're making a primary weapon or, you know, a assault rifle or an LMG, you want the bullet velocity to be pretty good. 800 to 1,000 is probably where I would consider the green zone. I think 900 to 1,000 is really, really good. 800 is kind of, you know, back and forth of how you play. If you play a lot of Rebirth Island, 800 is not a big deal. But again, the higher the bullet velocity, the easier it is to hit your shots, in my opinion, especially if you're not playing Call of Duty 8 hours a day and you're a professional player. So this does fit that category on the lower end, but it's still easy to shoot. It has 40 bullets in the magazine, and it doesn't shoot super, super fast. So again, you can be able to kind of drop your enemies like per bullet, like the damage per bullet is pretty good, and just a very fun gun to use. So I've had some good games in this. I would consider this one more of a Rebirth or a Resurgence one in general overall, but still very fun to use and definitely within the Warzone meta right now. The next gun that I'm going to show you guys is the old reliable SOA Subverter. This was a really, really good gun in the beginning of Season 3. I don't love the recoil in the mid of the magazine. Halfway through the magazine, you kind of get this like weird choppy horizontal recoil, and I've never really loved it for that reason, but this gun still drops people. It's still really good, and with these attachments on it, it doesn't have that bad of a recoil where you can control it. You can see here as I'm shooting, all you have to do is kind of just pull a little bit down and you'll have some pretty accurate shots. And if you look at the bullet velocity here, this is kind of where you get it. The 850 bullet velocity is still very usable on the big map and the small map of Rebirth, Fortune's Keep, or Vandal of whatever you're playing. So 100% in the meta. Really, really good loadout to try out. Still, if you haven't tried it out, you probably already have it leveled, so it's really easy for you guys to use. And let's move on to the next one. And moving on to another gun that you can use that has the time to kill that is within the Warzone meta, it is going to be the M16 with a conversion kit. This conversion kit, the Jack Patriot, makes it automatic. If you have this automatic, it is going to actually be a usable weapon. That is something that's newer to Warzone. Not a lot of people use this, and it is just fun overall. A pretty accurate weapon, and when you're shooting this, the iron sights just give me that old M4 kind of feel too from, you know, Verdansk. So in general, I really do like this gun. I've been using it a lot, and just a very fun gun to use. Now, it's not the #1 meta, but it does drop your enemies, especially on the Resurgence maps. I recommend giving it a try to have some fun with it. And now let's move on to my #1 and 2 guns in Call of Duty right now. And at #2, this gun did receive a buff in the Warzone update. It is going to be the MTZ 5.56. I've had one of my best games ever in Resurgence solo squads with the MTZ, and it just got even better. The damage range got buffed, and just overall, this gun has a very good time to kill. It is an assault rifle, so it has good mobility. The one thing this gun does struggle with is bullet velocity, so depending on how good you are at controlling that, I'd recommend changing some attachments, maybe using a suppressor or high velocity ammunition or whatever you kind of want to, you know, change up the pace of this gun. But it does have an effective damage range all the way up to 52 meters. It holds the damage range pretty well, and just in general, the recoil is very easy to manage for the most part. You can see here as I'm shooting, the gun's going to have a very manageable recoil. It's going to be very satisfying to shoot, and it also has good iron sights. So if you don't like using this and you want to throw on high velocity or anything of the sort, you can even throw on some high grain rounds for more effective damage range as well, and to get that up there too. So there's a bunch of different things you can do with this one. I do love the MTZ. It's a very fun gun to use, and just in general, I've been enjoying this very, very much. And now let's move on to the #1 gun after the DG nerf in Warzone Season 4. And here it is on your screen. I'm not going to lie, I might be getting a little ahead of myself with this because the DG just got nerfed and there is probably some time to test some guns. But this gun has a very good time to kill. A big thing with the LMGs, in my opinion, is that you can get the bullet velocity on them, you can get the recoil control on them, and in general, you usually don't have to sacrifice an attachment for a magazine because it's going to have 60 rounds in the default magazine. So with these attachments on it, the Ascent Lord stock is going to help some of that recoil control, and then the glassless optic or the Choreo 2.5, depending on what map you want, you could really use this and just be very accurate with it and be able to kind of shred your enemies and not have to worry about reloading too much because it has 60 rounds in the magazine, and you have that extra attachment that will really, really help you. Now, again, too, the best part about that extra attachment is that if you want to use the iron sights, you can. I personally don't love them, but you can take off this stock and you can use the Morn grip. This does take your strafe speed away a lot, but it does help you with firing aim stability, flinch resistance, and a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to try that out, it doesn't hurt. You can take off the extra attachment here and you can throw on high velocity or high grain, whatever you want, and that can help you out. So there's so many different things you can do, and even here, I don't have a 5th attachment on, and it's still going to have a very, very good recoil control, even with 4 shooting right there. So I do think this is the #1 primary weapon that you can use when it comes to assault rifles. And last but not least, we have to show you this gun because you guys all know that this is probably the one gun you've been dying to the most. And it's this gun right here, the Kar 98K. So the reason why I didn't put this in the numbers of 1 through 5 or the loadouts that I showed you is just that this is not an assault rifle. It is a marksman rifle, and it is obviously still a very usable primary, probably one of the best, and I've been using this the most because it's the most fun no matter what map I'm playing. Rebirth, Bondel, Fortune Ski, Urzikstan. I am using this gun and having an absolute blast with these attachments. Now, the reason why I don't have like a no stock on it or a laser on it to get those really crazy ADS quickscopes is because a lot of the times you still use this as kind of a sniper, and I like that aim stability. So I think this is the best Kar 98K that you can build that is in between using it as an actual sniper and longer ranges, having the aim stability. But if someone does run up on you and you need the quickscope, you can see it right here. Boom, right there, has a very fast ADS, and you're still able to snap onto your opponent and get easy kills up close as well if you need to in those buildings. So that is the #1 gun in my opinion overall to use, is the Kar 98K or the Holger 26 paired up with the Superi or the FJX Horus. And yeah, that is all the loadouts you really need for Warzone Season 4. Let me know if I missed any in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this content, like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, it's been your boy Crowder, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.